Hey, what's up, RPT 325? It's Michaela, giving you a little instructional video on week 9. So this week we're starting Excel. And unfortunately, it is one of our asynchronous weeks, so I thought I'd give you a little rundown just so you're set up for success this week. So first things first, I definitely recommend that you watch the helpful videos this week. If you were only going to watch one video, I would watch Excel 1. It gives a great overview of the functions that we'll be doing in this software this week, and it's only 16 minutes. So definitely check that out. If you want to expand on that, I would watch the other ones. But based on what I've seen so far, it seems like all of you would be pretty familiar with Microsoft Forms. Qualtrics is just a little bit more of a powerful survey software. You can try out both of them or either one this week. Actually, I believe you're required to try out both of them, but you'll be able to choose which one you like the best. And then Excel 2 is a longer video on the basics of Excel if you wanted to dive a little bit deeper. Definitely a great place to start is those helpful videos. First things first, we're going to be doing LA7, which is basic data analysis in Excel. So all of the instructions are right here, and we're going to go through them step by step. First thing you need to do is download the data. So just right here, LA7 data, you can click on it, push download, MS Excel, blah, 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 blah. And now you have your spreadsheet. So this data is something that would come up in some type of survey, maybe about people's recreation activities and some of their demographic information. So we've got people's first names, there's last names, gender identity, age, the recreation activity that they either participated in or they like doing, average annual income, and the city and state in which they reside. We're going to do a little bit of analysis on this data. So our first instruction is to sort the data by last name. Um, in ascending order. So that's super simple to do. What we're going to do is we're going to come up to the data ribbon and we're going to select column B, last name. We're going to come over to the sort options here. This one at the top is sorting in ascending order. This one down here is descending order. So we're going to select ascending. And you'll see that this comes up every time you try and sort something. You have an option to expand the selection or continue with the current selection. You always want to select expand the selection because if you don't, it will only sort the information in that one column. It won't sort the other columns. So then you'll mix up all your information, kind of like a Rubik's Cube. And we don't want to Rubik's Cube our data. We want to keep it all together. So when I select expand the selection, it will sort all of the rows based on the criteria in this sort that we are conducting right now. So I'm going to push sort and all of our data will move. And now you'll see that all of the last names are in alphabetical order. Now we're going to sort the data descending by annual income. So we're going to do that same thing, come over here, except this time we'll select the descending option. And again, it's going to come up, expand the selection. That's exactly what we want to do. And we're going to push sort. So we'll see that the highest incomes are at the top and they descend from there all the way down to 0 at the bottom. Here we go, 0 at the bottom. Awesome. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do some formulas. So we have to set a couple of things up here. So I'm just going to select any cell I want. I like to put a little bit of space between the data and my formulas. So I'm going to go to column I and keep it at the top so it's pretty easy to see. And I'm going to label this average. And it's going to be average income. I can expand this so it's all in one line, not necessary. Now in the cell next to that, I'm going to add in my average formula. So to start any formula, we're going to add an equal sign, and this tells Excel that we are going to do a formula. From here, you just start typing in average. It's going to give you a bunch of options for formulas. I use average pretty often, so it's going to be the one that comes up the most. Sorry, not the most, but comes up at the top. So I'm going to select that, and now it's going to give us some hints on what we need to do. So we're going to get the average of the income. So we're going to select the first income at the very top, and then we're going to select all of the rest. So to do that, we're going to hold down Shift, and if you have a Mac, you'll push Shift Command and then the down arrow, and it'll select all of the cells that have data in it. If you're on a PC, you'll do Shift Control down, and then you're just going to close your parentheses. You can see up here, I've closed the parentheses and I have my whole range right here. And so we're going to find the average of all of these numbers that we've selected, and we're going to push enter. So we've got our average income here based on all of those data points. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to do a count if formula to figure out how many people said that they're from San Francisco. So I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to find one of the data points that says San Francisco. I'm going to copy that and put it down under average income. This is just our label. Now we're going to put in our formula just like we did before. So I've got an equal sign. I'm going to type in count if. You can select it. You don't have to. If you just add the parenthesis after you type it, it'll work the same. The steps are pretty similar here for this formula. So we're going to come up to the very first city and state that's in our data, push Shift, Command or Control down, and then we're going to add a comma because right now we've selected the range, so it's telling Excel where it wants to pull the data from, but we have to tell it what data it wants to pull from. So from there, you can do a couple of things. I want it to count how many times San Francisco shows up in our range. So I could add quotation marks and type in San Francisco, blah, blah, blah. But what we are going to do instead, because it's a little bit easier, is just select a cell that says the information that we want. So I'm going to select our label here, San Francisco, comma, California, and then I'm going to close our parentheses, push enter. And now we have a count of how many times San Francisco shows up in our data. I'm going to make it bold just so it matches. The next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some conditional formatting. We're gonna want to make the cells in the income column green if they are above 40,000. So I'm just gonna add some notes here. So $40,000. After that, we're going to make all of the cells that have an age that's under 18 yellow. So I'm gonna add in that note here, 18. And now we are set up to make that happen. So something that might be intuitive, right? If I want all of the cells in the income column that are above 40,000 to be green, that's already in descending order. So I can visually go in here, select the first one, push shift, and then come down to where the 40,000 mark is. Come over here to the paint can and make it green. This works. However, if our data changes, say for some reason, Gregory Harris starts to make a lot less money, it's going to say that it's going to stay green even if that number dips below the threshold. So we want our cells to change color as our data changes color as well. So I'm going to undo that and show you exactly how we make that happen. So I'm going to select the whole income column. And then I'm going to come over to the home ribbon and select conditional formatting. From there, I'm going to select highlight the cell rules, select greater than, and then this dialog box is going to show up. So it's saying that we're going to format only the cells that contain a cell value that is greater than 40,000. So I'm selecting the cell that says 40,000. So it tells Excel the threshold to change the colors. Right now it's set to be red, and then you can just select green because we want it to be green and push OK. So now you can see that it looks pretty similar to when we did our manual color change or our manual conditional formatting. But if Gregory Harris were to start making $95 a year, it would change the color of that cell. So it's going to adjust based on what our data says, which is exactly what we want. We're going to do the same thing over here for age. So we're going to select the age column, come over to conditional formatting, highlight cell rules. This time we're going to select less than because we want all of the cells that show an age that's less than 18 to be yellow. We're going to do the same exact thing. Come over here, select the cell that says 18. That's our threshold. This time we're going to select yellow and push OK. There's not very many, but we can come down looking for yellow cells, and we can see that the ones that are less than 18 are yellow. If Jenna Reed were to turn 18, it would also change the color of that cell. The next part is a little bit of a challenge activity. I encourage you to try it. It'll set you up for success. However, it's not required, so if you stopped here and turned in your assignment, you would get full credit. If you try this, there could be some extra credit on the line, even if it's not totally correct. But I'm going to show you how to do it regardless, so you might as well do it. It's worth the extra credit. So we're going to come over to recreation activity. Our goal is to make a pie chart that shows the breakdown of all of the different recreation activities that show up in this survey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy column E. You can do that a couple ways. You can do Command or Control C, or you can right click and press copy. I'm going to bring that over to column M just so we have some space. I'm going to paste it down. Then we're going to come back over to the data column, and there's this symbol right here, and if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it means. It says remove duplicates. So that means that any duplicate that comes up in this column is going to be removed. So there's only the recreation categories left. So we're going to do that right now. Push OK. And so now we have our list of all of the options of recreation activities that any one of the survey respondents put in. And we're going to add in a second column for our formula. So this is going to be another count if formula, so practicing that same one again. But I'm going to show you some shortcuts so we don't have to do the formula over and over and over and over again. We really just have to do it one time with some modifications. So when I'm telling Excel that I want to happen by doing this is I want to count how many times reading comes up in our recreation column. So I'm going to push equals, type in count if, add a parentheses. Our range is all of this data. So I'm going to select the first one, go Shift, Command or Control down. That selects all of it, add in a comma. And my criteria is just going to be what's ever in my chart to the left. So reading is to the left. And I'm going to add my end parentheses, push enter, and now I can see that reading comes up 144 times. Now, in a perfect world, I would be able to take this formula and paste it down for everything, but I'll show you what happens when we do that. The formula is tied to the location in relation to everything else. So when I paste it down, it moves down my range and my criteria as well, which is great for the criteria because we do want Excel to count the different recreation activities. But if you look over to our data, it shifted down our range by the exact number of rows that we pasted the formula down. So now we're missing data in this count. So to avoid that, we're going to do something called adding limiters. So we're going to come over to our original formula, and between the label for the column and the row, we're going to add a $sign. And this basically freezes our range, so it will no longer move down the rows when we paste down the formula. So now I can come over here, paste this down, and it's going to use the correct range. And we can double check that by double clicking. So we can see that our criteria has moved just as we wanted it to, but our range is staying the same, which is exactly what we want. So from here, we can add in a pie chart. So I'm going to select the information in our chart, come over to Insert, and then I'm going to select a pie chart. Just a 2D pie chart is fine. And then you can make it big, and we'll change the chart title to Recreation Activity. There are some visual things that we can do here, but you can stop with this We've got the labels on there so I can see the breakdown of the recreation activities of all these people that we surveyed. And that is pretty much it. Make sure that you go ahead and come over to File, Save As. You want to change the name of this to be your last name and then underscore LA7. You're gonna save yours to your OneDrive account so you can submit the link. I'm just gonna save it to my desktop because I don't have to turn it in. But definitely change the name so it's easy for you to keep track of these assignments. I've noticed that a lot of folks are just keeping it as the default file name or just submitting like document. Let's get in the habit of labeling our assignments and our workbooks and documents appropriately. But that's LA7. I'll show you the rest of what you can expect this week next. All right, so since we have completed LA7, you've turned it in and it's awesome, you can move on to the survey practice, which is quiz 7. So this quiz is a little bit different than our past quizzes. This is more of a assignment than a quiz, but don't overthink it. I put an estimated 2.5 hours for this assignment. I think that it'll take you way less time. Don't overthink it. Keep it simple. Remember, I'm not looking at the content of your assignments for the most part. I'm just looking that you're demonstrating the skills that we're learning effectively. But you're going to put yourself into the position of some type of RPT professional. It could be a camp director, park ranger, event planner, sports coordinator, anything that you fancy. You're going to pretend that you're that person, and you're going to imagine that you are addressing a challenge that this person might face. So some examples is like, I'm wondering why I have low attendance for my events, or I'm wondering if my parks are accessible for all people. Engaging the community's interest in our new facilities, or I'm surveying my staff to see if we're meeting all of their needs. These are just examples. You could do whatever. An easy one that you could do is like a feedback form similar to what we did earlier in the semester. Um, but you're going to decide what your profession is and what your issue is to create a survey proposal. So keep this very simple. This can literally be one sentence per bullet point. Just describe what your profession is and the issue that you want to address. Super short. It could be I'm a camp director and I'm surveying parents to see if they thought that the sign up process was adequate or if we could make any changes. That's very similar to the purpose of your survey, but be more specific about what you're hoping to gain from asking these questions. Identify your target audience. Like I said, it could be parents of people who sent their kids to summer camp, volunteers for a work day, event attendees, anything like that. And you're going to draft a 5 to 8 question survey based on these details. And again, these can be whatever you want. You can use your old survey as a starting point, even. From there, you're going to practice using Qualtrics, which is a survey software. So if you go to Google and just put SFSU Qualtrics, make sure you put SFSU because if you don't go through your SF State account, it'll not really work that well and they might prompt you to pay for something. But you'll come here, log into Qualtrics, and then you'll be able to make a survey here. Some of the specifics on how to use Qualtrics are in our helpful videos, but just to get you started, great spot to start is create a new project down here at the bottom, and then select survey, get started, title this something like RPT 325 quiz survey, camp feedback. So put the assignment here as well as your pretend survey and then push create project. and then you'll be able to start crafting your survey here. Very similar to other survey software if you use that. And then you will also create the same survey in Microsoft Forms. So similar, come up, do SFSU login. You'll log into your Microsoft Forms. So once you're in your email, come over to your menu over here, select Forms, and then you can create a new form. Very similar process. Title it, same thing, RPT 325, quiz, survey, and then whatever your survey actually is. So if it's camp feedback, we'll do that, or event feedback or staff survey, and then you'll start crafting your questions. Super simple. Don't overthink it. Don't spend more time than you need. And then the last thing will be answer the reflection question, which survey software did you prefer to use and why? Um, and then you'll submit all of those different components here. So there's a couple of surveys for you to just um, get used to the different software so you can just take these surveys. At least look at them. If you open each of them and kind of like skip through and look at the questions, you can select I completed all three. Here is where you'll submit your survey proposal. So that's this part of the assignment, just describing what you're doing, and then your survey questions. Then you'll submit a link to your Qualtrics survey, and then the same thing for your Microsoft Forms survey, and then answering that reflection question. Then you'll submit your quiz. And that is pretty much it for this quiz. Then the last part of this week's work is the group project. So as soon as you see this video or see my announcement, I want you to connect with your team if you haven't already. So this is a little bit more of an in-depth collaborative assignment this week. You're creating a staff schedule for McNears Beach Park in San Rafael, and there's some criteria that go with this schedule. Um, with this, I am looking for some critical thinking skills. I want you to practice using our Excel skills like using the count formula, the sum formula, conditional formatting, as helpful tools, but your goal is to create a schedule that meets these rules, um, as well as working with your team to figure out how to make this work. This is a very real life situation, something that you will come across in any job that you work in once you get to the level of creating staffing schedules. So this is great practice. And it's also a great way to use Excel to make these tougher decisions. Make sure that you read all of the different requirements, and I'll show you what the Excel spreadsheet looks like. But actually, before that, I want you to connect with your team. So in Canvas, you're going to come over to People, and you should be able to see your week 9 groups. So on yours, it'll probably look like there will be a bunch of groups that are locked, and there will be one group that is unlocked, and you are in that group. I want you to connect with your team. Here are the teams, just so everybody can see it. Connect with your team. So group 1, Jenny, Min, Jordan. Group 2, Ebony, Darlene, Natalie, Jesse. Group 3, Ray, Liv, Georgia, Ella. Group 4, Destiny, Venus, Ruby, Carlos. Group 5, George, Stella, Alex. And then group 6, Adrian, Riley, Josiah, and Annika. So these are your groups. To connect with your group, you can go into your Canvas inbox. I'm not going to do it because there's messages from students, but you'll go into your inbox, go create message, and then your recipients, there should be a drop down that says week 9 group, and you'll be able to make a little Canvas group chat with all of your members. And just touch base and then schedule a time to either hop online at the same time via Zoom or meet up on campus to divide tasks or to work on this assignment together. However, you want to coordinate that with your team is fine with me. I will say that if you do have a team member who is not pulling their weight, um, once you turn in the assignment, just send me a message if there's somebody that you think did not contribute, and then we can handle that separately. But everybody should do their best to be communicative, and willing to participate in this assignment. And if any questions come up about teams, always feel free to reach out. I'll show you the starting file. So come over, download, and this is what it will look like. Um, so you've got a month-long schedule here. These are the days of the month, the days of the week, and you've got your park staff all right here, and then you've got your pool staff all right here. Um, the different colors represent the pay period. So I recommend creating a 2-week schedule starting on the 6th and ending on the 19th that meets all of the criteria for a staff schedule. That way it's just easy to make all of the information fit in those 2 weeks because the criteria is based off of a 2-week pay period. And then you can fill in kind of like these straggler days based on what you put in here. I think that's going to be the easiest way to accomplish all of your goals. Um, I also have for all of you a little hint document. It doesn't show exactly what you need to do, but it can show you how you can use Excel to get to the end result. Um, I'll also say don't overthink this assignment too much. I just want to see that you're practicing your skills. If you do not accomplish all of the goals of the criteria, that's totally fine. I just want to see that you tried and that you gave your best effort. All right, so here's a hint, right? This is not exact, but what you can see for the park staff is there are a few different shifts. It shows when people are off, it shows when people are on. There's some color coding for the late shifts and for the opening shifts. And then what's going to be really helpful is these formulas down here. So this row right here, total open, has a count if formula that counts whenever there is a 6:30 option. It shows you how many people are opening that day. So it's counting for all of the shifts on that day, how many of them are opening. Similarly, this is counting how many times 8:30 comes up in this column, so that signifies how many closing shifts there are. Then there's some requirements about when rangers are on. So we've got counting only in these few rows, which are the ranger rows, how many people are opening, and then again, how many people are closing. We've also got some conditional formatting over here. So if on a weekend day, there's no ranger closing, it'll highlight yellow. That's not the case for weekdays because it's okay if a seasonal employee closes on weekdays, but on weekends it's required. So when that shows up, you'll know that you need to revise some of the shifts. So feel free to use this as a hint to use throughout the assignment. It's a great starting point. It does not give away all the answers, but if you want to have a little bit of a hint, feel free to use it. All of these assignments are due next week before class. Hopefully you all had a chance to catch up a little bit with our buffer week. Then the last thing here is completing the student survey form, just like always. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, I will see you next week on Thursday for week 10. All right, have a good one, everybody.